Why terrible financial habits are a recipe for disaster. Poor financial habits must be broken as quickly as possible. You can set yourself up for failure if you have poor money habits that hold you back from achieving your financial goals. Unexpected expenses and living paycheck to paycheck can leave you unprepared for crises if you don't have a financial plan in place, let alone savings for retirement. It's clear from this that poor financial practices can have a negative impact on your future. 1. Not being smart with money. A 2019 survey found that the average American spends almost $18,000 a year on things that aren't necessary. That equals almost $50 a day. This amount is enough to pay for dinner at a restaurant, happy hour with friends, bottled water, and coffee to go. When you spend money on things that aren't necessary, you have less money for things that are, like paying your mortgage or rent, lowering your credit card debt, paying off your student loans, or saving for retirement. You don't have to stop all of your non-essential spending to improve your finances. It's a part of almost every healthy budget and happy way of life. But looking at it and finding places where you can cut back is a good first step. Here are some things you can do to stop spending money you don't need to. Use cash to buy things. Research shows that spending cash hurts your mind more than using a credit card. So, people who pay with cash tend to spend less than people who use credit or debit cards. Also, if you leave your credit and debit cards at home and only shop with cash, you'll be less likely to buy things on a whim. Make meals at home. The latter spending survey found that going out to dinner, getting takeout or delivery, and paying for lunch instead of bringing your own are some of the most wasteful ways to spend money. Cooking at home is a good way to cut down on how much you spend on food. You can go out to eat once in a while, but cooking your own meals can help you save money for things like rent and utilities, and they're usually healthier, too. Think about it before you buy. Whether you want to buy a new TV or a new pair of shoes, take a moment to think about and answer these questions. Do you need or want this thing? If you want something, can you really pay for it? How much does it really cost? If you buy this, will you not be able to put money into your savings account? Will you get more credit card debt because of it? If the answer to any of these questions makes you think twice about buying, you might want to wait. Don't give in to the urge to spend all your money. Even though it's always nice to save money on something you like, don't buy something just because it's on sale. Don't buy anything you don't really need. Look at all the memberships and subscriptions you have. The latter survey found that Americans spend more than $325 a month on memberships and subscriptions. This includes cable TV, video streaming services, and gym memberships. If you cancel even a few memberships and subscriptions, you could save hundreds or even thousands of dollars a year for more important things. Not saving money in case of an emergency. Unexpected costs always seem to come up when you least expect them. An emergency can easily cost you thousands of dollars, whether it's a broken leg, 2 flat tires, or a sick cat. If you don't have much money set aside for emergencies, these costs could affect your budget for years to come. If you don't have an emergency fund, you might find yourself in a tough financial situation. For example, you might have to pay a hospital bill with a credit card with a high interest rate or fall behind on your rent. In the end, it can force you to choose which bills to pay and which ones to skip, which is never a good situation to be in. But don't feel bad if you don't have an emergency fund. It is thought that 25% of Americans don't have any emergency savings at all. How to stop doing it? This question has a pretty easy answer. Set up an emergency fund to save money for bad times. Usually, you'll want to keep your emergency savings in a separate account from the rest of your money so you can't use it for day-to-day spending. How much you should save for an emergency fund is probably different from how much your sibling or best friend should save. A typical amount for an emergency fund is 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses. Based on that formula, if your monthly living expenses like rent and car payments add up to $2,500, your emergency fund should have between $7,500 and $15,000. Now, the part of an emergency fund that isn't so easy is building it up in the first place. Don't worry about filling it up quickly. Start with what you can afford and make sure to put money in it regularly. In the end, this should become a habit. That might mean setting aside $25 a week at first for your emergency fund, and then increasing that amount to, say, $75 a week or more when you can afford it. 3. Can't keep track of credit card spending. According to Experian data, by May 2020, the average American had about $5,300 in credit card debt. Some people might have no trouble paying off that much debt, but others might find it hard. Credit card spending that gets out of hand can cause some big problems. If you charge too much on your credit cards, you can use credit cards that have high interest rates. Give you a wrong idea of how much money you have to spend. Take money out of your emergency fund. Take money from your savings for retirement. Your credit score will suffer. Lead to filing for bankruptcy. But don't feel bad if you've used your credit card too much. You have a lot of options when it comes to turning things around. How to stop doing it. Even though credit card debt can be hard on your finances, you can take action to get out of it. Here are 5 ways to do so. Make a budget for your household. A budget can help you make sure that your income and spending are in balance. Keeping track of how much money comes in and how much goes out gives you a big picture look at your finances. Pay more than the bare minimum. Even though it might be tempting to pay only the minimum on your credit card bills each month, doing so can lead to a lot of interest charges. So, how can you avoid paying interest? If you can, pay off your balances in full every month. If you pay more than the minimum each month, you can save money on interest and get out of debt faster. Reduce the amount of credit you use. Set a strict limit on how much you can charge on your credit cards every month to keep your spending in check. Take out all of your credit cards. Leaving your credit cards at home or locking them away in a place that is hard to get to is a surefire way to stop yourself from using them. Taking that a step further, you might choose to freeze a credit card so that you can't use it to make any charges. Delete the information about your credit card. If you tend to spend a lot of money, the ease of online shopping could be a big reason why. To fix this, you can remove your payment information from retailer websites or the autofill feature in your browser. If you do this, every time you buy something online, you'll have to type in your credit card information and billing address by hand. This will make it impossible to buy things with just one click, which might make you less likely to buy things on a whim. 4. Not saving up for the future. You might want to buy a house someday. Or maybe you want to pay for your kids' college. And it's likely that you'd like to retire someday. Most of the time, these goals take years to plan and decades to save for. But many Americans aren't ready for what will happen in the future. In terms of retirement, a 2019 survey by Northwestern Mutual found that 22% of Americans 25 and older have less than $5,000 saved for retirement and 15% have no savings at all. If you find yourself on this boat, you should know that you are not the only person on board. If you don't save for the future, some of the things that could happen are having no money to buy a house, being unable to help much with your kids' college costs, a retirement that's put off. How to stop doing it. You can always save money for the future. You can start right away by doing the following. Save money automatically. Depending on what your bank offers, you might be able to have a certain amount of your paycheck automatically transferred to a savings account that earns interest. Because everything will be taken care of when your paycheck hits your bank account, it becomes much easier to stick with. Try to find ways to cut costs. Find ways to save money so you can put more money into savings. You could, for example, cancel subscriptions you don't use, shop around for cheaper home and car insurance, refinance your home or car loan, or combine your debt. Get a side job. Find a side job to add to your regular income and have more money to save. No idea what to do? Try making money from a hobby like baking, photography, painting, or graphic design. Make a plan. You can keep track of your spending and savings and reach your financial goals with a budget. Pay attention to saving for retirement. If you feel like you haven't saved enough for retirement, it's not too late. What's the next step? If your employer offers a 401k, make sure you use it to its fullest, especially if your contributions will be matched. If you don't have a 401k, you could open your own individual retirement account, IRA, and put money in it regularly. Both of these are ways to save for the long term that involve investing your money, possibly on a pre-tax basis. When you retire, you'll be able to use the money in these accounts. 5. Not sticking to or even making a budget. If you don't make a budget or don't stick to the one you already have, you lose an important tool for managing your money and making sure your short-term and long-term needs are met. A budget helps you decide what to do with your money and shows you the way to go. How to stop doing it. This is not a hard habit to break. Set up a budget and promise to stick to it. But there are many different ways to make a budget, zero-based budgeting, for instance. It's important to find a way to budget that works for you because that way you'll be more likely to stick to it. At least the following 3 steps should be a part of your budgeting process. Think about it. Look through your bank records, credit card statements, and other financial documents to figure out how much money you make and how much you spend. If you get paid every month, add up the last month's checks. If you don't get paid every month, take the average of the last 3 to 6 months. Set short-term and long-term goals for your money. Figuring out what you want to do with your money is an important part of making a budget. Do you want to get out of debt quickly? Are you thinking about buying a house? Are you trying to save money for your retirement? When making a budget, keep these goals in mind. Keep track of what you spend. This is important if you want to make a budget and stick to it. You should start by choosing a way to keep track of your spending. This could be a budgeting app or a spreadsheet. No matter what, it's important to keep track of your income and expenses in one place, so you can keep an eye on your goals. Also, make sure you schedule time, maybe once a week, to go over your budget. However, I know everyone gets busy, so at least once per month. All the best.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more.